everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog. Today we're going to be making some custom color glitz glitter gel with some Brea Reese inks. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm using a Gina thermoweb glitz glitter gel, and I'm also going to be pulling out some Brea Reese inks. Anytime you want to custom color something, you can easily go to paints or to inks to make that happen. I'm also going to be using this beautiful stencil from Simon Says Stamps, and I'll make sure to list everything in the product area below. First, I want to go ahead and spray my stencil with Pixie spray. This is a product from Thermoweb, and it gives you a light, tacky texture to the back of your stencils, and it allows them to hold into place without having to use washi tape or painter's tape. So it gives you a very light tack on it. It will not rip your paper when you go to pull it off. It just allows you to use your stencils, especially those delicate stencils and line stencils like this, without it lifting up from your paper. You do want to let it dry for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then you can go ahead and press it down on your paper. So my paper today is Canson watercolor paper. I have the really big pad, the extra large on this, and I just cut them down to card panel sizes so they're readily available when I get ready to start crafting. I went ahead and pressed that stencil into place, and now we can start making our custom colors. Now this glitz glitter gel does come in various colors, but today I thought I would mix it up and make my own colors. So first I'm going to start off with orange, and like I said, you can do your own custom colors if you like by just using some alcohol inks, or sometimes I even have tried a little bit of watercolor as well and mixed it up with my gel, and it just turns a really pretty color. This product is something I will always have in my craft room because it's absolutely beautiful if you leave it just white and clear, but you can even step it up a notch if you want to add your own color into it. I am working on my Tim Holtz craft mat for this. This is the glass media mat, and it's perfect for me to mix up custom colors to watercolor, and it's perfect for easy cleanup. So I'm just making a few little piles off to the side right on that white area of the mat so I can kind of see the true color instead of mixing it on the black portion of that mat. I'm coming in and I'm just mixing up a little bit of that glitz glitter gel into each one of the colors. Now I'm being careful not to allow my spatula to touch the alcohol ink itself because I don't want it to tint or disturb the clear color that I already have. So I'm being careful just to scoop out enough, put it down on each color, and then I can go ahead and close this up. I don't recommend leaving this open for long periods of time. To me, I think maybe it might dry out a little bit, so just be mindful of that. Next, I'm just blending in that alcohol ink into that clear gel. Like this gel has like a very sparkly texture to it, and you're not going to lose that when you add your alcohol inks to it. It's still going to stay that vibrant and gorgeous color. I'm adding just a little bit more, and I want to work quickly on this. The alcohol inks will dry back a little bit, and I also want to make sure that I get this over to my stencil kind of quickly because I don't want my gel to start drying as well. So as you can see, I get this gorgeous, like hot red color. Now, if I wanted that deeper, I can add some more red to that, but I kind of still want to have a summer vibe as well as kind of working into fall colors. Before I go into my next color, I make sure to clean off that palette knife. I don't want the two colors mixing together right away while I'm doing this. Now these colors, if I put them all together, they would equal like a brown shade. So just make sure you don't want muddy colors. Just make sure that you clean off your palette knife before you go into your next color. I'm grabbing some of that gorgeous green and adding it right over the top. Now, what's so perfect about using this color combination is that if I do get any muddy colors, it's okay because this is tending over towards a fall style card. And of course, in nature, if we have like leaves and stuff, we are going to have that brown color combination. So I'm really not too worried about that. Like right up here in this green section, you're going to see it's going to turn a little bit of a shade of brown, but I'm okay because I'm pulling in those summerish kind of colors over into my fall colors. I will say it's been hot and rainy this whole time in Florida. So I'm really looking forward to like cooler weather. So that inspired me to kind of pull out this color combination. Next, I'm mixing in that cadmium yellow. Again, I'm just going to add a little bit more color to that. Like I said, the alcohol inks are going to kind of dry back a little bit while it's on my palette, but that's okay. I can add just a little bit more in, and then I can go ahead and start swiping that color across the card. Now you can see because I use that Pixie spray, this stencil really is not moving. It's staying right in place. And those are some really fine lines. So if you do not have this Pixie spray, I'm telling you, you need to have it. It is a lifesaver when I'm stenciling. All right, I'm just scraping up the last part of that yellow. Now, you do see that there's a lot of gel on that baby wipe, but I'm going to show you how to use that and not waste it. The last color I'm mixing up is that beautiful orangey kind of color. This is just regular orange, no fancy name to it. It's just orange. And I'm mixing it in. Now this is going to be the last color I'm going to add. So I'm making sure that I have enough to go the rest of the way across this palette. Now you'll see I'll just grab all the colors at once and mix them together. Because like I said, in nature, when we're going into that fall color look, you're going to have some of those mixed brown shades. Now, since I have everything on there, I'm lightly going over with my spatula to get off any of that excess. I want to have a good even coverage of this. Now I'm going to come in with my stencil pal, and this is really going to help me get a very even layer. So I'm lightly going over that panel. And as you can see, I can do it in one swipe. I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off onto that baby wipe and do it just a couple more times just to make sure I have an even coverage. Now, if I did miss an area and I pulled a little bit too much off, I'm just going to go back to that baby wipe and grab off a little bit more of that leftover glitter. I don't want this glitter gel to go to waste. So I'm going to show you what to do to make sure you salvage what you have and what you're working with. I'll rake over just a couple more times to make sure that that layer that I'm putting down is even. And then I can come in and go ahead and pull this up. So I'm just going to grab my spatula, put it right underneath, and start pulling back that stencil. Just holding it in place with my palette knife. And look how gorgeous this is. This, you guys, makes me happy. This makes me giggle because I love pretty, gorgeous things. And look how gorgeous this is. Okay, I'm going to set that aside to dry, and I'm going to show you that you can save that glitter gel. Don't let it go to waste. So you see I'm just scraping it right off that glass mat, and I'm going to grab myself just a piece of paper. This is just another watercolor piece I already had cut down, and I'm going to put this along the bottom of this paper. I don't want any of this gorgeousness to go to waste. And as you can see, those colors blended really nicely together. So I'm getting some hints of the green still, the yellow, that gorgeous orange and red. And I'm actually taking it off as well, off of that baby wipe. Like I said, don't let any of that go to waste. Otherwise, you're just going to throw that in the trash, right? Save it. You can use this for another background to go down the side of your card, or you can leave it just like this and just have that raw unevenness on this panel. It's super, super gorgeous. So don't ever waste your product if you can. Sometimes you might not have enough to save, but I made sure to save this. I'll set that aside to dry as well. All right, One thing I want to say is clean your supplies, you guys. Make sure you clean them well. This way, your tools will always be ready for you and you'll never have to replace them. I've had this palette knife for about 8 to 10 years and I still have it because I take care of my tools. Just remember that. Clean off all that glitter gel so you'll be ready for your next project. All right, while that dries, I'm using this beautiful You Are Loved die from Altenew. It is absolutely stunning, you guys. I love this big font and the script of this. I am going to grab myself some washi tape. And this right here is Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and run this through my Gemini Junior. Now, if you're looking to see that setup I have, I'll link a video up above so you can see how I set up my plates to run through my machine. Now, I did cut that twice out of white, but I also want to do like this coppery color. Again, take me over to that fall palette. So I'll place this down. Again, I am using some of that washi tape, and I'll also run this through my die cut machine. All right, now I have the two white pieces done and I have that gorgeous copper color. I want to stack this to give myself some dimension. Now, I have noticed sometimes I can't get everything lined up correctly when I go to stack my dies. So I'm going to show you a little tip that I've kind of been doing and it's been working pretty well for me. Anytime I have a die, I try to just glue down one side of the die first. So this way I know that side's going to be lined up. Now, this is a large die, granted, but you can also do this on your smaller dies as well. This gives me a little bit of wiggle room to play with one side of the die before I have to worry about the glue drying on the other side of the die. So I'm just going to give myself some wiggle room to move that around. And once it's in place, I flip over the die and then I come back to the side that's not glued. And I just peel that back just a little bit so I can put my glue in there. And as you can see, I'm using a Gina K Connect glue. This glue sits right on my desk, never leaves my desk because I love it. And then this gives me an opportunity to know that that left side is already glued. And now I really only have to mess around with the right side, or when I turn this over, it will be the left side again. So that is all lined up, and I didn't have to worry about everything being lined up together before the glue dried. This is just a tip that I like doing, and it works pretty well. Now, before I go ahead and mess with that gorgeous coppery color, I'm just going to wipe the glue off of my mat because I don't want any of that overlap of glue to get onto that foil piece. And I'm going to use my pick stick and make sure any areas that have any excess glue squirting out, I'm going to clean that up. Anytime you're using the foil and it gets glue on there, you kind of can't get it off. It kind of leaves like a residue behind. So I try to make sure that I clean off any glue that might be underneath that might spill out. Now, since I have that done, this die is now sturdy. It gives me something to hold on to compared to if I just had the one layer. So once I have that one layer down, I can go ahead and glue all the way across this layer. Again, I'm just doing it with the bottom layer. That's all I'm doing is working with the bottom layer. And then I can go ahead and put that foil on top and not really have to worry about if it's going to line up because the one underneath is already kind of heavy and it's weighted. I'll just finish up putting those in and then I kind of hover over first before I start to press down on the die to make sure I'm lined up and I'm not kind of seeing the white. And you can see how easy this is to line up. So that's my little tip of the day for you guys. All right, now that looks gorgeous. And how gorgeous is that coppery goldish? Yeah, I'll just call it copper paper. And again, I have all the products linked below for your shopping convenience. All right, so let's go ahead and start putting this card together. This is now dry and look how much sparkle we still have even though we mix those custom colors together. And look how gorgeous that copper color is going to look on there. Again, I'm going towards a ending summer into fall. Now, I do want to add a little bit of this color to the card panel itself. So I went ahead and grabbed out some of my metallic watercolors, and I'm going to pick the coppery gold color. I think that will match perfectly with that copper piece. So when I do this, I'm just going to spritz this down with some water and start mixing this together. Now, there's obviously tons of ways that you can get this color directly onto the paper. You can flick it off of a block, you can tap it like I'm going to do, or you can paint directly on it. I'm just trying to give me a good consistency. Now, these metallic watercolors are pretty thick, but I don't want to overload this card panel because it does have a lot of color going on, but I do want to get some of that on there. And this is very, very creamy. So as I'm tapping, I'm not getting a lot of color on there. So I'm going to mix it directly on my mat. And you're going to see how gorgeous this color is. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Now, a very watery consistency is going to give you a lot of splatter. A more thicker consistency, almost like a gouache kind of consistency, is going to give you maybe larger colors, but it's not going to, or larger droplets rather, but it's not going to take as long for it to dry. So again, I'm just spritzing it a little bit more of that color, adding it directly onto my craft mat, and then splattering it. Now, after I started to do this, I kept thinking, oh, I probably should have just put this on a acrylic block, but I already had it down. And the reason I'm saying that, because you can kind of see that that splatter is going like everywhere. I have some things kind of off camera. And when I went to clean all this up, I had that beautiful splatter everywhere. So again, I'm just tapping and I'm just making sure that I have a good amount of that on there before I put down that last part of this card, because I don't want to go back and add splatter afterwards, after I get that bold greeting on there. So again, I have a little bit of that color down. That's good for me. I'm going to kind of rotate my paper and see, and you can see some of that splatter on there. And then I'm just going to make myself some large dots, just with kind of painting them on there, just with the tip of my brush. Now, this is a round brush, and I always splatter with the round brush. I never splatter with a square brush or angle brush. To me, just having the point on there is a little bit easier for me to manage that watercolor. So as you can see, I'm just going directly in, filling in some of those areas that I want that coppery gold to be. And then once I'm done, I can just go ahead and clean up the rest of that. Or again, I can just drag a piece of paper through it so I can save that beautiful color for another project. All right, now since that part is dry, we can finally get the card together. And just adding that little bit of hint of that copper to the background really pulls that copper color from the die cut into the card. Just remember, whatever you guys are crafting, have fun with it. Experiment with your products, see what you like, see what you don't like, but always let it be a creative process. Don't let it overwhelm you. And please, whatever you do, stop comparing yourself to someone else. You are your own creative person. You have your own style. Yes, to be inspired by somebody is awesome. But remember, that is only one person, and you are one person. You do not have to be exactly like someone to create pretty things. Never let your comparison of your talent to someone else's keep you from being creative. That's just my public service announcement for today. All right, I went ahead and I put that down. I didn't want it directly into the center, so I kind of moved it a little bit more to the right side of the card panel, because I do know I want to add a few embellishments to this. Again, I don't want to go overboard because there's a lot going on with this background. Now, to get that to lay flat, I'm just grabbing my pink and main blocks, my acrylic blocks, and I'm just going to let this sit on here just for about a minute or so. Because of all that texture, I want to make sure the glue really sticks to all that glitter. All right, that's dried, and now we can go ahead and finish putting the cards together. I'm using a Neenah white card base, and look at all that glitter. And I love the definition of that white popping behind that copper color because it pulls in the white from some of those lines in that stencil. To glue this panel down, I do want to have a little bit of wiggle room. So I am going to use my Gina K Connect glue for this because I want to make sure that I line this up perfectly on my card. Now it did bow a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about that because once this card is all done, I am going to set it under something to kind of get that warping out of that paper. So I'll lay that down. Again, using that glue gives me a tad bit of wiggle room to slide that panel around. And then I'll just go ahead and press firmly with my fingers, slide to adjust, and then that part of the card panel is done. I did want to add a few sequins, and this is just part of my sequins collection. I know it's terribly bad. I'm obsessed with pretty sequins. I'll pull some of those out, and I'm looking for colors that are going to pull out some of that copper color again. I don't want to add any greens or pinks or reds. I just want some of them on that are going to be reflective of all the glitter, but I don't want anything to compete with my glitter. I am a odd number kind of person when I put on any of my embellishments. I like odd numbers. So you can see here I'm using 5, and I will use my Gina K glue to press this down. Now that little pick tool is one of my favorite little things from Amazon. I'll be sure to link that below as well. It seems to be the only jewel picker that I have found that works for me. So it was picked up off of Amazon, and when I purchased it, it comes in a little bag, and it also gives you like little gems in the purchase price as well. I'll add on that last little gem, pop that down, and then this card is going to be done. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I'll be back soon with another tutorial. Head on over to my blog as well to see more close-up pictures. I'll see you guys in another video soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.